Now, before I start with showing you your particular wiki, I want to check who from you has used the wiki. No one? Does the words sound a bit familiar? Come on. You've used wiki, you've all used wiki, you've all used Wikipedia, right? Is there anyone here who's never used Wikipedia? Yeah, I guess so. So you've all actually used the wiki. You may have never contributed to one, unless there are some editors here. You can all become editors on Wikipedia. But wiki is really just a way of working collaboratively. And final product is, closest thing would be a website. Think about it as a website. It may sound complicated, you're creating a website, but actually it's pretty straightforward. But you're creating an environment that will contain text, graphics, links, videos. You can create pages within them, exactly the same as a website. So when you think about it as a website that you're creating. The idea of a wiki, as I said, is to work collaboratively, and if you've done any group work before, you probably have slightly different idea what collaboration means. You do this bit, I'll do this bit, and then we'll sit together and just try to put it all in one piece so it looks more or less like one piece. Never quite works the way it's supposed to work if you do it that way. The idea is the final product to look like one piece of work and not a mashed up piece from different sources. You've read academic papers before. You know when you have multiple authors, when you read the paper, you cannot say who's written what. It reads as one piece. So that is part of the skill that you will be learning as part of this exercise, is how to really work as a team collaboratively, not just looking at the work and patching it together. So in terms of teamwork, it's going to be a lot, that's going to be the biggest hurdle. The technical side is pretty straightforward. So I know you're worried at the moment about the technical side, but actually it's the teamwork that's going to be the first hurdle. So when you start working in a team, forget about mine, forget about yours, it's all ours. It's very, very difficult to actually do it in practice. It's all nice telling you this, but it's very difficult to do in practice because when you write a piece of work, even just a paragraph, you invest a lot of effort in that and looking for source and trying to phrase it nicely and make sure it's sound and academic writing and all the rest of it. And then you put it in the wiki and someone else from your team can go inside and actually change it. And usually the first reaction is, how dare they? I spent 2 hours writing this thing and they go and change it. This is the first thing that you have to let go completely. The easiest way to achieve this is write everything you want to write for the wiki and treat it as a draft. So everyone else who goes and edits it is doing you a favor. So don't over-invest in your particular piece. And same goes the other way. Don't feel like you may offend someone if you go and edit their work. You're doing them a favor. And if you keep that in your mind when you're working, it will help enormously of actually blending all the work together. So simple thing you can do is the first person who goes in writes some bit of text as rough as it can get, but the main idea there, and goes. The next person who comes in reads what is previously written, edits it, makes sure it's all nice and tidy, maybe add additional bits, add more references, keeps writing a bit more text and leaves. Never think of it as a complete and ready until the very end. The next person who goes and does exactly the same thing. So everyone who goes through the text amends a little bit. So at the end, it's not going to be someone else is writing or my writing. It's going to be that amalgamation of everyone's style. And that's how you will achieve one consistent piece of writing and piece of work. In terms of the logistics of this, the wiki environment, the main advantage of the wiki environment is completely flexible and it's online. Which means anyone from your team can log in at any time and do any work on any of the different pages that you have to create. The only restriction is if someone goes into a particular page to edit, no one else can go at that time in that particular page. The rest of the environment is free for you to do other work. So instead of writing about the introduction, for example, you can go and write about main focus or about teamwork and any other part of the wiki itself. But that particular page, when someone logs in to edit, it's locked for the moment for that particular person. So because of that, please try to be sensible and try to be nice to your teammates. If you go inside a page, make sure you have something ready to do. Don't open the page to edit and then go and do your research. because in the meantime, nobody can actually work on this page. So make sure you have a rough idea of what it is that you want to put in the page, and then go inside to edit, and then you can start working directly in the page. So don't stay for hours in a particular page, because you're preventing the others from doing work, which is obviously in your best interest as well, for someone else to do a bit of work. So the wiki environment that we use is integrated in GCU Learn, and you have to go to your module, then go to Wiki's Info and Access, and yours will be inside the information on the group wiki, but the one I have is the demo wiki. Didn't want to mess with yours, so I created another one to show you today. The first page that is created is the actual instructions. So no excuse, I didn't know, I didn't read them, they're right here in the wiki. So please read all the dates and times and what you need to do written here. In your particular case, in this particular module, the wiki will have a predefined structure, but this structure can be changed. It's just to make it easier for you. You already have the different parts of the wiki created for you, but you can add or remove some. So in this particular wiki there are multiple pages, and you can access them through the pages button, the big orange button there. And you can see that there are 7 pages, where the first page, apart from the introduction, the first page is created specifically for you to use as a way of communication. Because let's face it, the first rule for any good teamwork is good communication. If you don't have that, everything falls apart. So emails backwards and forwards to multiple people, it ends up in one big mess. I didn't receive that, or I forgot to add you, or I didn't check my mail, ends up in one big mess. If it goes external, again, it's completely remote from the actual source of work and the actual final product, so it may become a lot more cumbersome to work. And also previous experience has taught us that there are sometimes, how to put it mildly, issues, potential beginnings of conflict within the team. If it's all above board in here, it's much easier to resolve and to stop it before it escalates. So try to keep it inside the wiki itself. It will improve the communication massively. So use this first page for communication. So, here. At the moment it's completely empty, apart from Rachel writing there. Is this where we can post ideas? Yes, I would say it is, but if I just say it, obviously she wouldn't know. So I'm going to go and edit this page. She's already written, I can see it's last edited by Rachel a few seconds ago, but I can go and edit. Let's see. Now, I've added my initials here simply because that's going to be just discussion, so they know who wrote this. Because in a few days, edited by would not make any sense who actually created the last piece. It could be anything in there. So something little like that, just to identify who said what, is useful. But inside the page itself, inside any page, you can just click edit and go inside and rewrite whatever is currently there, or add additional information. So try the front page. And at the moment, this page is completely empty, and this is where you will use this space to be the first welcome page of your actual content of the wiki itself. So after you have chosen what the focus is going to be for your particular topic, you can go here and give a brief outline of what that's going to be. So then in the following pages you can go more into the content itself. So at the moment it's completely empty, and I haven't chosen the topic. So any suggestions?
Depression.
Oh, sorry.
Depression, there you go.
Depression. Oh, very cheerful topic.
That's what I thought, yeah. It must be the weather, yes. Are you depressed about that? Yeah, that's the usual reaction to assignments.
So obviously that's not the real content, but as I said, because I'm not the specialist, I cannot really go and do that. You hopefully will be, because that's part of the job here, to go and do your research and add the content. When you're creating this content, think about this terms of, this is still academic piece of writing, still academic piece of work that you're creating. You're creating it for other peers to be able to read and learn something from it. So when you have to learn about a particular subject, completely new to you, and you're given an option to go and read from a textbook, go and attend a lecture, to our lecture, or go and read academic papers, or go on a website, which one would you choose? Be honest. Okay. I bet about 99.9% of people will go to the website. So what you're trying to create here is informative, good quality, user-friendly piece of writing. And when I mean writing, that includes images and videos as well. I just put it all together. You're trying to create a good source, quality source of information. So do your proper research and make sure this is easy for people to read, and it's, I wouldn't say it pleasurable, but close. Definitely more than just a book or attending a lecture, someone talking to you for 2 hours. You'll not remember it. So you're trying to create that kind of environment. So whenever you're wondering, should I include this or not, always think from the user perspective, would I like to see this information there? And if you would like to see it, put it in. And you have your rubric already. So you can go through the rubric and see what the actual requirements are, just to make sure if you have to make a decision, should I include this, or is it becoming too much, or I'm having too many videos, go and have a look at the rubric, go and talk to your lecturers as well, they can give you a bit more guidance. But put yourself in the user's shoes as well, and look at it from that perspective, and that will guide you about how you organize the content itself. You can go and, let me just edit the page. Oh, there we go. We already have a bit of information here. So I can delete this, because that was just to get someone to do the work. And I can make that as a heading, for example. So I can go to Format, Headings. Oh, the heading 1 is a bit too big. Heading 2. And write something else. And basically inside the editor itself, it's very familiar environment. You already have the basic tools for changing the font, the size, the bold, italic. You can change the colors, although I would advise you preferably don't. People are tempted when they have the freedom to actually make it cool, and they go all sorts of weird colors. Remember, someone needs to actually read this. So don't go pink background with yellow writing and something else like horrible as that. We've seen it, it doesn't look pretty. But you have the basic settings here to edit your page and to make it nice. Initially try to get the content right, but remember the formatting helps guide the content. So if you have your headings, for example, nice and big, formatted as headings, that will definitely help. Try to avoid underlining. Very common issue, people underline, think that's a heading, makes it more difficult to read. So avoid underlining, make it bold instead. Or use different color, make it still dark, so you have good contrast, but a color, dark red, dark green, whatever, just to make it stand out a little bit more, and to make sure it's clear in terms of the structure. But the design should follow the content, so put your content in and see how you can structure it so it's easier and for people to understand. So text's pretty straightforward. What about, you just save this and see if I want to include some images here. Where do you normally go and find your images? Be honest. Okay. Anyone who's using anything else? There are a few others. Google is good, I'm not denying that. That's my main source as well. But there are a few other sources as well. So depending on the type of images you're looking for, Google will give you probably most choice. But Bing also has a good selection, and it sorts them differently, so you will see different results first. So if you cannot find something quickly in Google, try Bing. There are also few websites that are just databases of free images. Pixabay is one of them. and all of them are free, so that's handy. But whenever you go and use an image that is not yours, don't forget that you need to reference. And also, how do you find if an image is actually free, if you're allowed to use it? It's on the internet, surely. That's what most people think. Actually, most of the images on the internet are copyrighted. So don't just assume that because it's online, it's free for all. Some of the images, you simply may need permission. For some of the images, you may need to pay. So instead of finding an image and then trying to find out if you're allowed to use it or not, you're better off searching directly for free images, which is a very simple thing to do. I'll show you how. So let's open another tab and go to Google, search for depression. Yeah. So looking for images, and the vast majority of the images that you see will be copyrighted. But no way to guess just by looking at them. If you see a watermark, that's an easy one, but most of them don't have watermark, but they're still not free. So the easiest way to do it is by switching a filter using the search tools. Right below the search tab, search bar, you will see search tools. If you click on it, there's the usage right option. All you have to do is make sure you only display images that are labeled for non-commercial reuse. At the moment, they're not filtered by license, which means Google show you all images. It doesn't care if it's copyrighted or not. That's your problem. You wanted images, there they are. But if you choose label for non-commercial reuse, all of those images, whoever has uploaded them has already agreed for the image to be used, which means you already have permission. As long as you're not selling it, which you're not. So that's the easy option. You still need to reference. It doesn't make it yours. So if you want to avoid any of this, take your own pictures. You have full copyright. You can do whatever you like with them. So your phones have pretty good cameras, so make use of them. But that's the lazy option, and it's pretty straightforward. You just make sure you have the license right. If you're using Bing, the same option exists. It's called license, and you can go there and you can choose either Creative Commons or public domain, which is still open images to be used. Just don't forget to reference. So once you have found an image you like, actually quite like this one. So don't try to copy this image. Always click on the view image to go to the actual source. And in this case, it's actually Pixabay, the one I was mentioning in the big database. And right here on the side, it tells you what is the license for use of that particular image. It says public domain, free for commercial use even, so you can sell it. No attribution required, which means you don't even need to reference. However, for your own peace of mind, it may be a good idea at least to put the web address so your lecturers in the clear that you didn't just steal it. It's available and it's from that link. But they've given you permission not to do that if you decide to. So you have an option to download. You download this. What size? I don't need it super big. Actually, I'm going to download it small. And I'll put it on the desktop for now, because I'm not going to keep it. I'm just going to use it directly in my wiki. So if I go back to my wiki, and I hope you noticed that I didn't open to edit the page when I went to search for an image. I found the image first, and then I'm going to go to edit, just in case someone actually decides to do work. I want to encourage people to work, right? It's everyone's interest to allow your teammates complete freedom to work when they need to. So when you have something ready, then you can go to the edit option. And then you can insert your image. If you're not sure which of those icons here in the taskbar is the one you need, just position the cursor and wait a second. It's going to tell you which one. There it is. Insert edit image. And if the image is online somewhere on its own page, so if you click on view image and it opened up just the image, you can literally just put the web address here. It will pick up the image itself. Or if you've already saved it, just click on the little icon next to it with the folder and a magnifying glass, and you can upload the file from where you saved it. Mine is here. Yeah. Okay. There's my image. Usually, by default, they'll be massive. Way more bigger than you actually need them, because that takes almost the entire screen. So whoever's reading your wiki will suddenly see just a picture. And they will have to read everything before it and then see a picture and then read everything below it, but there's no connection between the text because it's so far away removed by this massive picture. So try to keep your pictures reasonably sized, still clear for people to see, but without taking an entire screen. So if you need to reduce it, there are two simple ways to do it. The easiest probably just click on the picture, grab the corners. Please always use the corners of the image and then reduce the size to whatever you need it to be. The other option is by clicking on the image and clicking again on the same icon that you used to insert, and you can specify the size of the image in pixels. So whatever suits you. Now the image, when you insert it, it will behave like one big letter that you've typed. So if you want it centered, you will center it like you would center text, just by clicking on centering. And that means that when you view the wiki on different size screen, the text will reflow and the image is always going to sit in the center. If you space before it to push it, it will always have that fixed space. So if you have a smaller screen, it may end up being very close to this side, or if it's a big screen, it may end up being too close to this side. So always use center or left aligned, and that way it will always fit in the center of whatever screen size you use. But you cannot have text going on the side of it. You can only have just one line of text because it's that's one big letter. So if I type, this is what it looks like. You can type before it. See? So it's one big letter basically that moves around. I mean that. I can do. Wonderful button function in real life. So many times I've been very about having that in life. If you want to have text next to the image itself, the only way to achieve that is using a table. The table borders are not visible. So you just create a table with two cells, one for the image, the other one for the text, and you put the text inside. The problem with using tables like that is the size of the table is fixed. So when you change the screen that you use to see the wiki, it may be too big, so you don't see it fully, or it may be too small and you have text going here and then suddenly this picture with a bit of text and there's more text. So it may not look very balanced. So you can use it if you want to. If you want a little bit of explanation to that figure and you want it right next to it, fine, create a table, put them basically in the two cells. But the easier option probably is just to keep the text and then the image and then more text below it. It's much more manageable, and as I said, it will be more flexible in terms of changing the screen size and how it looks. If you decide to use tables, absolutely fine. Just go to random labs or at home or on your tablet and then open it and see if it looks alright. Because there will be very different sizes, so you can test it yourself, how it looks. So, pretty simple with the image, but I've just used an image. I still haven't put in the reference. At the moment, while I'm still working on the wiki itself, just having a note of where things are coming from is still good enough. At the end, you'll need to make sure your references follow your reference guidelines. Check what the instructions are, specifically for referencing images in this case, and make sure you follow them. But what you will need as a minimum is the web address. You can always go back to that web address and find the rest of the information. But if you have the web address at least, that will give you a good starting point to create the full reference. So let me take a note of the web address. And save. And there is a page already for references. So I'm trying to go inside and paste that. Save. Now, if I go, I put a link, but I have no idea what this link refers to. So I should probably say image from page 2, I think it was, page 1. That gives me enough information when I need to go back and do the proper referencing. At least I have noted the actual web address. I don't need to go and start the image again through Google. So this is basics, but what happens when you have a lot of people accessing the same information and everyone has a slightly different idea of how the result will look like, and they may end up deleting bits that you actually think are important. and they shouldn't have been deleted. So it's not lost. That is one of the main things you need to remember. Whatever happens in the wiki, every single thing you do, every single edit on any page is saved and recorded under your name as well. Which is a good reminder, which I shouldn't be reminding you, to keep it clean, okay? Because every single thing is recorded. So if you do something inappropriate, it's going to be there with your name next to it. So not really good idea. I mean, I shouldn't need to remind this to students, but I've seen it happen live in public as well. So I always have that in the back of my mind. So one thing to know then is, how do you go back to a previous version? So if something happened, or someone deleted something by accident, or just because they didn't understand why it's important or whatever, you can go back to previous versions. The easiest way to do it, if you see now the content of the page simply says image from page 1, blah, 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 and it says edited by me a few seconds ago, and there's a little clock. All you need to do is click on the clock itself. And that is going to give you all the different edits of that particular page, from the creation, the original, and then every single edit. So you can click on a particular version, preview it, get what you need from it, if it's only a little bit, and then put it back in the original page, or you can even restore a previous version. So if it's really messed up and you would rather go to an older version, that's fine, you just click on it and say restore. But good idea to preview first so you don't restore the wrong one. Back. And go to my references, try to edit, and this is what happens when someone else from your team is inside that page at that particular moment. As I said, it's locked for them to use. So it gives me an option to break the lock, which literally means kicking them out. So whatever you're currently doing, not saved at all, they're just kicked out. I don't need to tell you what kind of teamwork that's going to result in. So please, please, please don't do that until it's, sometimes it may be a bug. Sometimes they've been there for 5 hours, so they deserve it. But there are better ways to try first before you kick them out. Sometimes though, you need to use break the lock because it happens rarely now, but it does happen. Sometimes when you're working, the browser just crashes. I've had that before, going to pages and it just crashes. Computers. So that's why it's a really good idea to save regularly. Don't spend hours, tidying it up inside without saving. So good idea, save it regularly. But if it happens and it crashes, and you try to go back into the wiki, it may come up like that, saying it's locked by you, claiming that you're still inside. But you're obviously not, you're trying to get in. So this is simply the browser not giving the information to the wiki that you already left. So then feel free to break the lock and go inside and sort it out. But that is, I would say, probably the only legitimate use of breaking the lock. Otherwise, someone is not going to be too happy when you just literally, you get out, I'm going in, I'm going to do my work, and I don't care about yours. One other thing you can use in cases where someone has stayed for too long, you can try again, still there. You can try, go have a cup of tea, work on a different page, come back, still there. Feel free then to use the comments. Because the comments are open.
Call a spade, Lena.
The comments can be deleted, but again, they are recorded. And it will always say comment deleted. So it's not going to display the actual comment, but it'll say comment deleted. But basically that's one way to communicate while someone is in the page itself. And you can, if you found a really important piece of information, you want to put it inside, but someone is working at the moment, you can put it temporarily in a comment, and then when they leave, you can go from the comment, get it out of there, and put it in the content itself. But please make sure content stays in the content of the page itself. So if you need to add content, edit. Go to put it in the page itself. People have very bad habits now from Facebook, because when someone posts something and you want to add to it or comment on it, the only way is really just a comment. You cannot go and add additional information to whatever they've written. So people get into the habit of just commenting. So if you do that, it will become just one long stream of comments and it doesn't look like anything what it should look like. Remember, you're creating a website. It's a wiki website. So you have to go, if it's content, go inside the edit and into the page and put the content inside. Comments are just for commenting like this, or this page is fine, I don't think we should touch it, or what do you think about splitting this page? Any information that relates to the page itself but not the content itself, then feel free to add comments. And maybe delete them later when they're out of date, like let me try now. Yeah, she's out. I can go in. So I'm happy with that, fine. I don't have anything to add. So I can delete this comment. There we are. So it just says comments be deleted. So if there's a mark that there was a comment there, it doesn't go completely. So pretty straightforward with text, pretty straightforward with images. In terms of how the team works, I doubt you will really bump into each other at the same time on the same page because everyone has different work patterns and different free time. So people will normally go at different times. But if it does happen, just be sensible and try to work on something else. There's plenty of other areas of the wiki that you can work on. So one other useful thing that you can add to the wiki, which could help with the overall content, is using videos. This is something that you probably never had a chance to really do, because when you write essays and reports, let's basically you can put a video in there. In presentations you can use videos, but there's never enough time to actually play them. So as much as you've all been tempted to do it, you can't most of the time. But in the wiki, they can really help add additional information to the actual content. Don't try to find a video that says exactly what you've already said, because there's no point in putting the video in. But additional aspect, additional information, someone's opinion, whatever additional information may be useful for whoever's reading the wiki, why not include it? Please be sensible though. Don't include an hour's worth of video, because your lecturers will have to watch the whole thing. I mean, it's not a small amount of you, so you can imagine if everyone has, what, 6 pages worth of wiki with lots of information, and an hour and a half worth of video. That's about, what, more than a month worth of reading and watching. So be sensible and just include short clips if they're relevant and if they help the content itself, not just because you can. When you're searching for videos, most of the times you'll just go to YouTube, which is absolutely fine. YouTube has some really good videos. It's not the only source. There's another website called Vimeo, which has a lot of academic material as well. So you can go there as well. But I'm just going to show you YouTube for now, because that's the main source. So let's go and find something useful. Very, very important here to remember that you are writing an academic piece of work. So the content has to be appropriate. Don't just get snippets from a TV show talking about how people, are depressed in tears because someone's left them. That's not really an academic, well, not really quality source of information. So try to always watch the video, not try, you have to watch the whole video with sound on before you put it in the wiki. Make sure it's exactly what it starts with, because some of them, I'm sure you've seen some that start absolutely normal and then halfway through some weird things, animated or people dancing and doing stupid things. There's plenty of them online. So try to make sure you watch the whole thing, make sure you watch the whole thing with the sound on, make sure it's legitimate and a good source, and then use that one. One thing that helps, look at who's uploaded it. Most of the universities and most of the departments will have their own YouTube channel. So if you already know, for example, a university that is very good at a particular topic that you're writing about, you can go directly to their website and see where the YouTube channel is and go straight that way rather than searching in YouTube, because sometimes there are too many. And always look at who's uploaded and see if you can find good quality before watching it. They're usually good. So I'm just going to do 5 minutes. I don't think I'll have the 5 minutes, so I'm just going to do what I told you never to do. I'm going to use this without watching. I'll just skip through it just to make sure it's the right thing. But it looks like it's tethered anyway, so that should be a good one. So I'm just going to quickly jump.
It just pops up after weeks. Interest centration. Behavior more such as hot diagonal. Other prompting temporary conversations will get.
That's all right for now. So all I need is the web address of the video. And then if I go to my wiki, probably on the introduction and the focus, edit, go here, put it on the left. And again, look through the icons. One of them is going to be for a video. And you just paste where the source is. Okay. And don't panic at this stage. This is normal. It will appear like that until you save and go out. So that's the video already inside. All I have to do is save. There it is. So very simple, very straightforward to do, and it really breaks up that long chunks of text, because you've all been to websites that have just text and text and text and text. You can read a paragraph, maybe two if you're really desperate, and normally I just try to find something else because it's just too much. So try to break up your writing with additional multimedia, something that will help, something that will help in terms of the meaning and help the user to not feel the pressure of just reading big chunks of text. Another thing that will be useful to mention at this point is how to create links. Because they can be very handy as well in terms of creating links to other pages within the wiki or external, because you cannot fit everything you will find and everything you would really want to include in the wiki. You'll have your word limit and you have the sensible limit of the capacity of your lectures, being able to read all of that. So if you find this more useful things but you don't have space or it's slightly off topic, you can still include external links and more information about this can be found here, and you just create a link. It's very, very simple to do. So let me see. It's not too bad. I'm just going to create a link to this. And I'm going to do it right at the end here. And I want to convert the word here to a link that when people click, it goes to that particular web page. So I just need to select, that can be done with images as well. You just select the image and you follow the exact same procedure. First you select whatever becomes the link, and then you click on the link icon, which is this chain here. And then you just tell it where it's supposed to go. And always good idea, if it goes externally on a website, just make it sure it opens in a new window, so your wiki stays and it just opens this as a separate window. Otherwise you may end up in conflict, because GCU Learn doesn't like when something tries to open inside, and it may not work. So open it in a window and then submit. See? And there it is. So if I click here, it opens up there. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So if you find good sources of information, you can add them that way. You can do that also in your communication page. Stuff, links where you found good information you want others to read as well. You can just put the links in there so people can actually go in and read. What about creating links to the other pages? So if I go to, I'll do that actually, the introduction. At the end of the introduction, I want to have a link that goes onto the next page. So instead of going to another website, I'm going on another page inside the wiki itself. Here's how it's happening. Let's go to edit. Here, to say, that could be a link. But instead of a URL, which is a web address, I go to a wiki page, and that wiki page is the second page. introduction. Oh no, that's this one. So theoretical perspectives. There we are. So I'm reading what's your focus, fine, and then I go to your next page. So you can create navigation within the pages themselves. If you find actually at some point you're referring to something that will be explained later, you can create a link there, or even at the bottom of the page, previous, next, or even you can create a navigation page at the beginning, like table of content, so people can jump to the right place. It's entirely up to you. Now, another thing I wanted to show you is how to create new pages and how to change the order of the pages and create sub-pages as well. Because most of the time you're trying to get the content of a particular page not to be too long. So you know yourself, when it's a couple of screens you can just about do it, 3 screens if it's really, really, really intriguing, and after that it becomes always too much, I'm already lost. If it becomes too much, look through it and see if there's meaning and if there's any point in splitting it into sub-pages, creating separate sub-pages on some of those subtopics, because you will see it's not one big chunk of information, it's going to be subtopics. So if it's a little bit, keep it on the same page. If it becomes too much, maybe separating it. See which works. It will be entirely up to you and your content. So if you need to create a new page, pretty straightforward. I'm just going to create a new page. I'll call that navigation, or table of content. And page 1, we'll remember them now, so page 2, page 3, page 4, and you can create those to be links to the actual pages. I'm not going to do it now, I just want to show you creation of the page. And look now what happens in my list of pages. It is there, but it's in a strange place. Because I was in the introduction, I don't know why it went there. Normally it goes right at the end, but it's basically completely sort of off the way it needs to be. The same thing as well, I would recommend the introduction and instructions. After the first week or so, move that page away and leave your notices to be the first thing you see. So whoever from your team goes into the wiki, the first thing they see is the information, the communication from the team so far. Because by then you should already know the instructions and the introductions. So you can move the introduction to the end, your table of content to the beginning, or after the notices, and you can rearrange those pages at any point. When you decide you need new pages, or actually the structure may not be the way you think should be, you can rearrange them. And this is how you do it. From the settings option, you have page hierarchy. And you just have to go here and start shifting them around. So table of content, I would say after the communication. Communication would be probably the first thing you need to see. Introduction and instructions, after you've read them all a few times. You can just leave them at the end. Where are my references? The references disappeared. Unless someone decided to delete it. Okay. That should be okay for now. Go back. Normally that rearranging of the pages takes a little bit of time to refresh. So if I go now to the pages, it's probably still the old one. Let me check. Yep, still the old one. If I go back to page hierarchy and just check. Yep, it's the way I've done it. If I go back. So it starts with the communication page, so whoever logs in to go and do some work, the first thing they see is communication. So there's no excuse, I didn't read that, I didn't understand. It's there, right in front of you. And then you can go to all the pages of the content, starting with the table of content if you want to have one. Is it not needed by any means, but if you want to, you can have it. And obviously introduction and instructions needs to go after the references, but you can rearrange at any point the structure. You can also delete pages. When you delete pages though, there are 2 different options. One of them is just delete, which means it can be restored. The other one is called purge. Don't use it, bottom line, it cannot be restored. So if you made a mistake, sorry. So always just delete. Deleted pages are hidden and they don't display, and people will still see whatever you want them to see, but if you made a mistake, you can actually restore it. So if you have to do it, please do it that way. So if I go back to this table of contents that actually I don't want it, I can delete. And there's the option, delete or purge. So I'm just going to delete. There we are. So pages, it doesn't display it. If I want to see it, here it is. And I can go to it and restore it if I want to. But it doesn't display it otherwise. So it's nice and tidy. Oh, nice. I shouldn't be too happy about the image of someone depressed, but actually it's quite cute. So, see, when the team actually works together, things build up very quickly. So, bottom line, you have to find the best way to communicate with your team. You have to let go of me and my work, and I'm not going to touch yours. You write this bit, I'll write my bit. Always treat it as a draft that needs refining, and you can go and refine it and someone else will refine yours, so everyone does everyone else a favor, and the final result will be that smooth piece of writing. Also try to keep the formatting the same throughout. The easiest way is just use the default styles there. When I went to chose the headings, and that way it will all be the same, and you don't need to worry. I use different font, different size, they will all be the same. Try to augment your text with images, with videos, whatever makes sense for the actual content. Feel free to rearrange around, don't be afraid to experiment, because you can always go back, unless you purge. Purging is the only thing that cannot be undone. Yes?
Can I ask one question? Are you
Yep.
better to use Chrome versus...
It's okay to use either. Firefox, I would say, probably is not such a good option because you cannot log in directly. It will need to type in username and password, a single login thing that, click and goes in. It doesn't work on Firefox. But otherwise you can use any browser. One other very useful thing, which is also written in your instructions, by the way, you can subscribe to your wiki, so when someone changes something, it sends you an email, so you know if people have been working. So that may be a good option. Very simple to do. Again, go to the settings, and there's a subscribe option. So you just tick, and it knows your email, goes to your student email, and it will notify you when people work. So technically, it's not difficult at all. You can go and edit and put whatever you like. Obviously, the main thing is the teamwork and the content itself. If you have any issues with the actual tool inside, or the wiki doesn't work, or you want to do something that cannot figure out exactly how to do it, feel free to come and talk to me.